They were inseparable best friends for over a decade. He was always by her side, her biggest cheerleader, the one she trusted with everything. To the world, their bond was unbreakable. But behind the smiles and Instagram posts, something dark was festering. She had the life he always wanted: money, fame, success. And while she showered him with love, gifts, and loyalty, deep down, he wanted more. More than friendship. More than what she was willing to give. And when reality set in, when he realized he would never have what he felt he deserved, something inside him snapped. One night. One betrayal. One moment of unthinkable violence that left an entire community in shock. How does love turn into envy? How does trust turn into bloodshed? And how does a person go from being your closest confidant to the one who takes everything from you? This is the tragic story of Amaiyah Monet and the best friend who destroyed her. Stay with us, because this is one case you won't believe. Before we dive into this harrowing case, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more chilling tales of love, lies, and betrayal. Amaiyah Monet was living the dream, at least, that's what it looked like from the outside. At 29 years old, she had built an empire, turning her talent as a dancer into a brand that millions admired. She was more than just a stripper, she was a performer, an influencer, a trendsetter. Every time she stepped onto a stage, all eyes were on her. Every time she posted online, the internet watched in awe. Money flowed, luxury dripped from her every move, and opportunities lined up at her feet. But success wasn't something Amaiyah stumbled into, it was something she fought for. She knew struggle, she knew hunger, she knew what it was like to have nothing. And maybe that's why she never hesitated to give back, especially to those she considered family. She was the type to share her wins, to make sure the people who had been there for her ate just as well as she did. And no one benefited from that loyalty more than 31-year-old Rashad Covington. Rashad had been by her side since they were teenagers. They came from the same streets, shared the same dreams: fame, money, a way out. But while Amaiyah had taken control of her destiny, Rashad was still waiting for his big break. He was supposed to be the next big rapper, a name the industry couldn't ignore. But years had passed, and the only thing growing was his frustration. His music wasn't taking off, his bank account stayed empty, and his pride took hit after hit. Amaiyah never judged him for it. If anything, she was his biggest supporter. She believed in him, pushed him to keep going, even funded his dreams when the industry wouldn't. She let him crash at her place when money got tight. She covered studio time, bought him designer clothes, made sure he looked the part even when he couldn't afford to play it. She called him her day one, a brother, someone she could always count on. But here's the thing about loyalty, it's only a gift when it's appreciated. And while Amaiyah thought she was lifting Rashad up, he was drowning in the shadow of her success. To their followers, their friendship was something to admire. People loved the way Amaiyah hyped him up, how she called him her best friend, how she made it seem like they were on this journey together. What they didn't see was the bitterness creeping in behind Rashad's smile. The quiet resentment growing with every win she celebrated. The way he started to look at her, not with admiration, but with something darker. Amaiyah was soaring, and Rashad, he was stuck. And with every dollar she spent on him, every favor she threw his way, he felt it more and more: he wasn't her equal. He wasn't her partner in success. He was a charity case. A sidekick. And that, he could no longer accept. Amaiyah saw him as family. Rashad? He saw her as something else entirely. And that was a problem. A dangerous one. Because when you give someone everything and they still feel like it's not enough, sooner or later, they'll find a way to take it. Rashad had always told himself that his time was coming. That one day, his name would be in lights, his music would blow up, and he'd finally have the life he always wanted. But as the years dragged on, that dream felt further and further out of reach. He was 31, still chasing the same fantasy he had at 19, still watching other people pass him by while he stayed stuck in the same place. And the worst part? The person closest to him, the one he had come up with, struggled with, dreamed with, was living the life he wanted. Amaiyah was winning. She was stacking money, making connections, and leveling up in ways Rashad could only fantasize about. And the more she soared, the more he sank. He told himself he was happy for her, that her success was their success. But deep down, resentment festered like an untreated wound. It started small, little moments where he caught himself thinking, why her and not me? But over time, that thought turned into something uglier. Because while Amaiyah worked hard for everything she had, Rashad convinced himself she had it easy. That she didn't have to hustle the way he did, that she didn't have to struggle. And worst of all, that she owed him for standing by her all these years. After all, wasn't he the one who had been there from the start? Wasn't he the one who had hyped her up, protected her, supported her? But now, he was just an afterthought. Amaiyah never saw it that way. To her, Rashad was family. Someone she would always look out for, no matter how much money she had or how famous she got. She had no idea that every time she handed him cash for rent, every time she covered his meals, every time she bailed him out of a financial mess, it wasn't gratitude he felt, it was humiliation. And then came the night that changed everything. Amaiyah had just landed the kind of gig that most dancers dreamed about. A private event for a high-profile NFL player. One night, a few hours of work, and she walked away with nearly $20,000 in cash. It was a moment worth celebrating, and in true Amaiyah fashion, she made sure the world knew about it. She posted everything. Stacks of $100 bills fanned out in her hands. A brand new diamond bracelet glittering under the club lights. The luxury penthouse suite where she was booked, with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. It was the kind of flex that people loved her for, the rags-to-riches proof that hard work paid off. But while her followers cheered her on, Rashad was seething. He sat in his cramped studio apartment, staring at her posts, his face twisted with anger. His phone buzzed with notifications, mutual friends hyping her up, strangers praising her, calling her a boss, a queen. Meanwhile, he couldn't even scrape together rent. Couldn't afford a decent meal. Couldn't get a single break. And all she did was flaunt what he didn't have. The rage hit him like a tidal wave. All those years of frustration, all the nights he spent wondering when his time would come, all the moments he felt like less of a man, it all crashed down at once. He convinced himself that Amaiyah was selfish. That she had forgotten who had been there for her from the beginning. That she was laughing at him, mocking him with every post. And the more he thought about it, the more twisted his logic became. On a humid summer night, the city pulsed with life. From the penthouse suite high above the streets, the skyline glittered like a sea of diamonds. The air was thick with the scent of champagne, expensive perfume, and the quiet hum of success. Amaiyah was on top of the world. Tonight was about celebration. Another deal closed, another five-figure bag secured. She had spent years clawing her way to the top, and now she could finally breathe, finally enjoy the fruits of her labor. And who better to celebrate with than Rashad? Her day one, the friend who had been with her before the luxury, before the fame, before the envy that had begun to fester beneath the surface. She had no idea this would be the last time she ever saw him alive. The night started like any other. Music played softly in the background, a playlist of old-school R&B and hip-hop. Amaiyah poured them drinks, laughter spilling from her lips as she recounted the moment she closed the deal. She felt unstoppable, untouchable. Rashad watched her from the couch, his fingers gripping the glass in his hand a little too tightly. They took pictures for social media, Amaiyah posing with wads of cash, flashing her diamond-studded wrist, letting the world know she was that girl. Her followers flooded the comments with fire emojis and words of admiration. Boss moves. Big flex. Keep shining, queen. Rashad wasn't smiling anymore. At first, it was subtle. A passive-aggressive joke here, a sarcastic chuckle there. Damn, you really got the whole world on your side, huh? Amaiyah barely noticed. She was too wrapped up in her moment, too used to Rashad's moods. You know how it is, she said, sipping her drink. Hard work pays off. That was the moment something in him cracked. Hard work, Rashad repeated, his tone colder now. Yeah, must be nice. Meanwhile, the rest of us still struggling, still trying to find a way up. Amaiyah raised an eyebrow, finally catching on to the shift in energy. You acting like I ain't struggled too. Rashad scoffed. Nah, you acting like you different now. Like you too good for the people who was there before all this. He gestured around the penthouse, his jaw clenched. You don't even see it, do you? Amaiyah sighed, already exhausted by the conversation. She set her drink down, leveling him with a look. You really want to do this tonight? You want to sit here and act like I ain't put in work? Like I ain't grind for everything I got? Nobody handed me shit, Rashad. I made this happen. That's funny, Rashad muttered, his voice dark and bitter. Because it sure as hell looked like you got lucky. Amaiyah laughed, but there was no humor in it. Lucky? Lucky? I put you on, Rashad. I helped you. How many times I looked out for you. Paid your bills. Hooked you up with opportunities. And you sitting here mad at me 'cause I figured out how to win. She shook her head, her patience running thin. I'm done. I'm done giving out favors. You a grown-ass man, Rashad. Your success. That's your responsibility. The words hit him like a slap. His breathing turned shallow, his hands clenched into fists. And then, he snapped. Before Amaiyah could react, Rashad grabbed the tequila bottle from the table and swung. The glass shattered against the side of her head with a sickening crack. Amaiyah's body jerked violently, her drink slipping from her fingers as she stumbled backward. A sharp gasp left her lips as pain shot through her skull. The room spun. Her knees buckled, and she crashed onto the white marble floor. Blood dripped down her temple, warm and sticky against her skin. Her vision blurred. Rashad, she croaked, trying to push herself up. But Rashad wasn't hearing her. He was too far gone. He lunged forward, his hands wrapping around her throat before she could even scream. Amaiyah thrashed beneath him, her nails clawing at his arms, at his face. She tried to pry his fingers off, but his grip was unrelenting. He squeezed harder. Her legs kicked wildly against the floor, her lungs burning, her body fighting for air that would never come. Her nails raked down his skin, leaving deep, angry welts. But Rashad didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Her movement slowed. Her grip weakened. Her wide, terrified eyes locked onto his, silently pleading, silently asking why. And then, nothing. But Rashad wasn't finished. His breath came in ragged gasps as he stumbled back, his mind racing, his hands shaking. And then, as if possessed by something dark and uncontrollable, he turned toward the kitchen. The drawer screeched open. His fingers wrapped around the cold handle of a knife. He walked back to her lifeless body. And then, he started stabbing. Once. Twice. Again. And again. Rashad stood in the middle of the blood-soaked penthouse, his chest rising and falling in frantic, uneven breaths. The realization of what he had done clawed at his mind, but there was no time for regret. He had to think. Fast. His eyes darted around the room. The shattered tequila bottle. The blood pooled around Amaiyah's lifeless body. The overturned furniture. This wasn't just a murder, it was a slaughter. If he didn't act now, they'd find him. Make it look like a robbery. Rashad forced himself to move. His hands trembled as he yanked drawers open, tossing their contents onto the floor. Jewelry, designer bags, wads of cash, Amaiyah had wealth everywhere. He grabbed whatever he could carry, stuffing gold chains and diamond watches into his pockets. He tore apart the living room, knocking over chairs, flipping tables, smashing vases. Anything to make it look like someone had broken in, like this wasn't personal. His bloodied fingers fumbled as he reached for her phone. Evidence. He couldn't leave it behind. He pressed down hard on the screen, but the device wouldn't unlock. Face ID. He glanced at her body, his stomach twisting. No. He couldn't. Shoving the phone into his pocket, he rushed to the kitchen, grabbing a dish towel to wipe down surfaces. The doorknobs. The countertops. The glass he drank from. His hands moved in frantic, messy circles, sweat dripping from his forehead. He needed to change. Ripping off his shirt, he ran to the bedroom and snatched one of Amaiyah's oversized hoodies from her closet. The smell of her perfume still lingered on the fabric, a cruel reminder of what he had just done. He threw it on, grabbed a fresh pair of pants, and shoved his bloody clothes into a plastic bag. He had to get rid of them, along with everything else. Moving quickly, he yanked open the door and stepped into the warm night air. The hallway was silent. He pulled the hood over his head and made his way down the emergency stairwell, skipping steps 2 at a time. Outside, the city buzzed with life, oblivious to the horror that had just unfolded above. Rashad kept his head low as he walked, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, fingers gripping the stolen phone. His feet carried him to a sewer grate, and without hesitation, he dropped the phone inside, watching it vanish into darkness. His clothes were next. He found a dumpster in a dimly lit alley and tossed the plastic bag inside. The next morning, as the sun cast its golden glow over the city, Amaiyah's housekeeper arrived at the penthouse like she did every morning. She hummed softly to herself as she fished out the spare key and unlocked the door. The second she stepped inside, she froze. The air was thick with the metallic scent of blood. Her gaze moved slowly across the room, taking in the overturned furniture, the shattered glass, the pools of red seeping into the once pristine marble floors. And then, she saw her. Amaiyah's lifeless body lay in the center of the chaos, her beautiful face frozen in terror. A blood-curdling scream tore through the penthouse as the housekeeper stumbled backward, her hands flying to her mouth. She fumbled for her phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed 911. Please, she sobbed into the receiver. She's dead. She's been murdered. Within minutes, sirens wailed through the streets, red and blue lights flashing as officers stormed the building. Crime scene tape went up, blocking off the entrance as detectives stepped into the horror Rashad had left behind. What had once been a home filled with laughter, luxury, and life was now a crime scene. Amaiyah Monet's murder sent shockwaves through social media, turning her name into a trending topic overnight. Fans flooded her last Instagram post with comments, messages of grief, confusion, and anger. Just hours before her death, she had been smiling, posing in designer outfits, celebrating another victory. Now, she was gone. Speculation ran wild. Some believed it was a robbery gone wrong. Others whispered that Amaiyah had secret enemies, jealous women, dangerous men, people who wanted what she had. But one name kept surfacing in the chaos. Rashad Covington. Amaiyah's so-called Day One. The best friend who was always by her side. At first, no one wanted to believe it. How could he? They had been friends for over a decade. She had supported him, defended him, taken him in when he had nothing. But when security footage surfaced showing Rashad entering Amaiyah's penthouse that night, and then leaving hours later, alone, doubt turned to certainty. Investigators worked fast. The penthouse had been wiped down, but not perfectly. Rashad's fingerprints were on the shattered tequila bottle, the kitchen knife used to stab Amaiyah, and the door handle. Blood spatter analysis confirmed the struggle had been brutal, but there was no sign of forced entry. Whoever had killed Amaiyah had been invited in. Then came the final nail in the coffin. Security cameras in the building captured Rashad entering and exiting the suite at suspicious hours. Wishing 48 hours, using cell phone data, police tracked Rashad to a quiet suburban home, his mother's house. When they arrived, they found him in the basement, surrounded by suitcases. Inside were stacks of cash, bundles of Amaiyah's designer jewelry, and the same hoodie he had stolen from her closet. The same hoodie he had worn while walking out of the crime scene. Rashad didn't fight when they placed him in handcuffs. He barely reacted at all. As officers led him outside, news cameras swarmed the street, capturing the moment live. A reporter's voice echoed through the chaos. Rashad Covington, the best friend of murdered influencer Amaiyah Monet, has just been arrested in connection with her death. The world had its suspect. At the station, Rashad sat in the interrogation room, arms crossed, jaw clenched. He claimed he was innocent, that he had left before anything happened. But when detectives laid the evidence in front of him, the footage, the fingerprints, the stolen money, his story crumbled. And for the first time since that deadly night, Rashad's cocky facade cracked. He knew it was over. The trial of Rashad Covington was a media spectacle, drawing nationwide attention. News outlets called it, the ultimate betrayal, a chilling story of friendship, jealousy, and murder. Every detail of the case was picked apart, from Amaiyah Monet's rise to fame to the brutal way she was killed. Rashad, once a struggling rapper no one cared about, was now infamous. But not for his music. Not for success. He was known only as the man who murdered his best friend in cold blood. From the moment he entered the courtroom, his demeanor was unsettling. He wasn't the grieving friend, the remorseful killer. He was smug. Arrogant. Almost as if he still believed he could talk his way out of this. His defense was a mess. First, he claimed it was an accident. That the argument got out of hand, that he didn't mean to kill Amaiyah. But when that didn't convince the jury, he switched tactics. He claimed self-defense, saying Amaiyah had come at him first, that he had no choice but to protect himself. The prosecution was ready for him. They played voice messages, unedited, raw recordings of Rashad ranting about Amaiyah, his voice dripping with bitterness. He spoke about how she owed him, how she wasn't humble anymore, how he was tired of being in her shadow. And then, the words that sealed his fate. If she don't start showing me some real respect, she gon' regret it. That's a promise. The courtroom was silent. The jurors' faces said it all. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was premeditated murder. When it was time for the verdict, it took them less than 2 hours to decide. Guilty. First-degree murder. Amaiyah's family wept. Some of her friends in the courtroom quietly cheered. Rashad, for the first time, looked shaken. Reality had finally hit. At sentencing, the judge didn't hold back. You were not a victim. You were not a struggling man pushed to his limits. You were an entitled, bitter parasite who took the life of the one person who ever truly had your back. This court has no sympathy for you. And with that, Rashad Covington was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As he was led out in handcuffs, the last thing he heard was Amaiyah's mother sobbing. She was too good to you. She never should have trusted you. And with that, the chapter on Rashad Covington was closed. Amaiyah Monet's name would live on in the hearts of those who loved her. Amaiyah Monet had everything, fame, fortune, a life many could only dream of. But she never saw the danger lurking in the one person she trusted the most. Her success should have been celebrated, not envied. Instead, it became the very reason her best friend, her so-called day one, took her life in the most brutal way imaginable. Did Rashad always have this darkness inside him? Was he a ticking time bomb, waiting for the moment when resentment outweighed friendship? Or were there warning signs Amaiyah missed, subtle red flags that hinted at the storm brewing beneath the surface? If this story shocked you, Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more disturbing cases of betrayal, obsession, and deadly secrets. Until next time, stay safe, and be careful who you trust.